Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So in the previous video we have learned how we can draw hawthorn flower and how we can compose all these flowers. These flowers basically come in cluster, and in today's video I am going to show you how we can paint these flowers with very easy technique. I am using 320 GSM watercolor sheet. I'm going to paint all these flowers with the white color because the white color is the common color for hawthorn flower. And usually I show wet and wet technique, having so much technical stuff in that particular process, but in today's video I'm going to show you a very simple technique to paint all these flowers using single stroke technique. So just define a rough structure about like where you want your flowers and where you want your stems and all those things, just roughly. If you are going to add a small circle around the flower area, that is also fine. Just think about where you want your flower, in which direction you want your flowers. And because we are going to do white flowers today and our sheet is also white, so I'm going to use little gray color for the flowers. So what I'm doing, I'm mixing blue and brown color together to get a gray kind of shade, little towards the blue side but grayish in color, and I'm keeping it very watery and light so that we can create some white flowers with little bit of gray shade in it. I'm using this 6 round brush, and I'm going to fill my brush with the water completely to create flowers. Now this is something very important to learn, how I'm going to create my flowers. So let's start with the flowers, but before that let me rub all these pencil mark so that we can start from scratch. You can do little modification in the composition later on. So what we need to do, we have one pointed end, so start from the pointed end without pushing, and then push it a little bit and come back to the center again. So we will get one pointed end at one side and one round kind of shape on the another side to create one petal. So what I'm doing, I'm starting from inner corner, dragging my brush while pushing my brush and coming back to the center again and releasing my brush slowly so that I'll get a pointed end. So likewise you can create 5 petals for one single flower, and you can also do a little bit of modification, adding more shades into your flower later on, but this is something we need to do basically for all the flowers that we are going to paint today. Quite simple. You need a little bit of practice around this particular stroke, but it's very easy to paint. Now let's paint one more. So apply pressure and get back to the center and release slowly. You can adjust the petal shape a little bit later on, but I'm repeating the same thing again and again using same color. So let's paint few more petals. Start from the inner corner, apply pressure, come back to the center again so that you will get something like this. So these are the 2 flowers facing towards you, so you can keep the petal size almost same for all the 5 petals, but if you want little different perspective, like facing towards left right or tilted towards left right, then you can keep the petal shape little bigger and smaller. So I'm creating 3 petals bigger and 2 petals smaller for this particular flower. You can also keep a negative space in between these petals. These are absolutely fine things. And 2 petals smaller in size, and you will see this is a little different perspective as compared to the front face. Now let's create one more here, having 3 bigger petals and 2 smaller petals. I'm repeating the same thing. I'm just pushing my brush and coming back to the center again, so that I'll get little round kind of petals. And whenever you have little bit of overlapping of petals, you can avoid those overlapping and create half petals like these two. These two are hidden from the front petals, and then you can create 2 smaller petals, so that you will get different perspective. You will also get little bit of overlapping of the petals. You can also do complete overlapping of the petals as well if your previous petals have dried. But if your previous petals have not dried, don't do overlapping, otherwise you will messed up with the colors. Now let's create only 3 petals for this particular flower, assuming 2 petals are hidden behind the front petals. So I'm just adding the hint of petals for rest too. And let me create one more here, and this particular time I'm completely overlapping my petals with the other petals because my previous petals have dried completely. So you can do something like this as well, and these things are common when you're creating flowers like cherry blossom or apple blossom or hawthorn flowers, wherein we have clusters of flowers or wherein we have number of flowers in a group. 2 petals are visible here for one single flower, maybe one smaller petal as well. And let me create only 1 petal at the center, assuming rest other petals are hidden. So these are the flowers that we have painted for this particular painting. Now let it dry for some time. We will finish these flowers later, but before that let's add the stem. So for the stems I'm using brown and green color and adding stems based on your composition. My all flowers are at the center, so it's difficult to create stems at the center part because the stems are hidden from the flower. So I'm creating just a hint of stems in between and creating stems towards upward direction and downward direction. You can also create little extended stems as well, like I'm doing for this particular one. So I have one more sub stem extending towards the right side. So likewise you can create some extended structures in the stems as well. And you can also add little bit of brown color to create different texture in your stems. Now you can also add substems as well, like little extended stems through the main stems. I'm adding 1 stem here, a smaller stem extending the main stem. Let me correct this particular one. Okay, now it's fine. And we're done with these stems. Now all the flowers are attached with the main stems, right? So we need some substems attaching through the flower because these flowers are in cluster, so we cannot see the substem clearly, but you can add few here and there wherever you feel like you can add. So I have added few green elements in between these flowers just to make it look like these are attached with the main stem. Now with the help of very light green color, using tip of my brush, I am adding a stamen. So I need to add lines, little smaller, little bigger, based on flower perspective. This flower is tilted towards the downward direction, so all the stamens are in the downward area. Likewise, this particular flower is facing towards little bit left side, so all the stamens are on the left side. Very light in color. I'm using very light green color. Don't overdo it. Keep it very light. And likewise, you can add stamens for all the flowers based on your perspective. I'm also adding small sepals around the flower, so we can see sepals for the front flower as well, and we can see sepals for the back flower as well. So I'm adding these small green element in between the flowers and stamens with the help of same light green color. And now we're done with the lines. Now with the help of orange color, I have mixed orange and little bit of brown as well to create the top part of the stamen, like little brighter dots to complete the stamens and to complete the flowers as well. And as soon as you add these little dots around the stamen or top of the stamen, you will see a very nice flower, like cherry blossom or hawthorn or apple blossom, anything you can say it. But based on your perspective, you can add these dots, like this one is facing towards you, so we are seeing more dots at the center. This is facing towards the left side, so more dots towards the left side. So likewise, you can do the same thing for all the flowers. I'm using size 6 round brush only for the dots as well. I'm using tip of my brush, but you can use smaller brush as well for these small elements. Completely fine, totally up to your comfort. And I think we're done with the flowers, petals, stamens, sepals and all those things. Now we can add leaves. For hawthorn flowers, leaves are quite simple because we do not have any defined structure for the leaves, I feel. So we need little serrated leaves having zigzag pattern in it, little deep serrated, less serrated. Those things you can do. The easy way to do it, create small leaves and combine all these things together to create one single leaf like this. Let me create few more leaves with the same technique. You can use different shades of green to paint these leaves. You can use lighter color as well for few leaves and dark shade for few. So these things you can do for the leaf area. Now let me create one more here. I'm not thinking too much while doing these leaves, so based on your choice you can paint whatever you like to. Shape is totally depend on what you feel. And likewise, you can paint a number of leaves in your composition. You can add little dark shade as well in the leaves if you want to, but if your color have dried, you can just wet the area a little bit and add dark color into it. You can also add little bit of lines in the leaves when your leaves have dried completely. So add lines like this just to finish, and little bit of finishing touch here and there in the leaves, flowers, stems, and we are done with this particular flower. So hope you have liked this particular technique, quite simple to paint, and we are done. Please do let me know how you feel about this particular technique. and thank you so much for watching my videos.